Do you think that's telling us we're alive?
Yes, you're alive. Yeah, they should
You're
put an A. They should put an
alive.
A in front of it, shouldn't they? So it says
You're
you're alive.
alive. If you're watching this, it having been recorded, you can scroll through to the meat and potatoes whilst we're just waiting for people to join, because it's a bit of an odd time of day, 6
Like my
o'clock.
crows. That's sort of almost symbolic of how I feel.
Yeah.
2 crows signifies
Hi
death.
everybody. Hi Ashley. Hi Lee. Hi Lucy. Hi Zoe. Hi Annette. Daisy. Mark. Hello. How are you? Or it's probably just going to be just a few of us, as it's 6 o'clock on a sunny evening.
I've just been to the park running through the sunniest environment with loads, thousands, hundreds of people all happy. All bubbling away, all with their barbecues burning.
We've been running around doing all sorts of things today, and I've been so happy because it's been sunny.
Zoe's just come in from sunbathing.
Yeah, me too. Are you brown, Zoe?
Me not.
So we've been doing all sorts of things today, and Mark's been.
Okay.
Oh, is it true? I like leaning on the table.
But when you talk, your breasts move and then the whole table moves.
So glad we're doing one of these. That's from Casey. She's not
You're
in a
not
good
in a great
place.
place.
Well, Mark has had. Just had a water fight with the kids.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That cheers you up. So I hate water fights. We should get wet. So
That's the
anyway,
best
Mark,
bit.
so talk about, because it's more. This is more about you. Talk about why you thought this would be good to do today.
Well, you seem to be starting a sentence.
Oh
I wondered
look,
what you were saying.
struggling not to open the 4th bottle of wine today.
4th bottle of wine. Okay.
How many people though? Is that
Can I
just with
open
you?
that? You've just taken away the one thing that I'm looking forward to.
So I just suddenly got really
Oh,
drunk.
right, so she's now drinking my drink. It's well, for those who kind of knew the how are you feelings in the past, you probably went on and on. I do feel like I go on these things about taking certain drugs to help with anxiety and depression and.
Why don't you say to me which one to take? You have been taking, because it might be the same.
Citalopram. And I was prescribed to go on to 20 meg. And then over the last, about 6 months ago, I found that the very things that I was taking to help with, feeling low, feeling flat, feeling depleted, were having the same effect. And apparently it's a thing. I mean, and a number of people have contacted via Twitter and Instagram saying it is a thing that, unless you try and test lots of different antidepressants or anti-anxiety tablets, then you can struggle to find the right one, and you can end up feeling the side effects can be just like depression. And that's where I was at, really, wasn't it? I was feeling very muddy. I was feeling, I'm quite a creative individual, and I just felt all of the sort of sharp thoughts were just numb and dull and fudged, and everything just felt a bit murky. I didn't feel enthusiastic about things. I didn't feel. So these were all the things I was feeling before I went on the drugs.
And then you decided, didn't you, to come off them very, 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 very slowly.
Yeah, very slowly. And that's the advice, is that if you're going to do it, to come off slowly. Now,
Oh my God, there is no advice from us. You have to go to a doctor to get any advice.
No, absolutely.
But Mark got advice from his doctor.
To be strict, the fact of the matter was, when I was put on them, you're not supposed to be on them for longer than 6 months, unless specified by the doctor. I did see the doctor obviously a few times, and he advised me to keep carrying on.
So he says she had the same, she felt like you lose yourself.
Yeah, just totally lose yourself. And it's not like, people who didn't know you too well would be hard pushed to say there was any difference. But I very much felt it. I just felt, it's like, when you get the charts of, like, in billions, they have those charts for the stock market that do that crash, up, low. It kind of, they knock the top off, but they also knock the bottom off. So that you operate in this. Now, I'm a great believer that a lot of these drugs and a lot of these things are used for people, not just to make people feel better, obviously, but also to make people more bearable for people around them. It's much more attractive within a family if someone's suffering from anxiety, depression, alcoholism, whatever, rather than having these great highs and then crashing lows and great highs and crashing lows, which of course the whole family has to go with. It's kind of more amenable, if you like that. The problem with that is that you end up missing a lot of the good things about lives, and also there are some things that are bad to feel. For example, my grandmother dying in the last sort of 5 months, that's genuinely sad. So it's very hard to distinguish between, I'm going to have to get the battery.
What's sad? and
The
what's normal.
computer's gonna go down.
So I'll just going to read out some of these comments, Mark.
Right.
Okay, Sue, I'm glad that you find these help. Lucy Lou says it was really exhausting. Lucy Lou says, really, Danielle, really exhausting going from one antidepressant to another, trying to find out which was right. Misty Gates says she had a really dark week last week, but it's a bit better. Tracy Gillick's asking, what have you replaced the medicine with? Mindset, sport?
Well, I mean, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Tired Mummy, I came off them at the end of last year. Can't say too much as being stalked on social media. Oh dear. Oh yes, I heard your story before, Tired Mummy. Yeah, it's really having a terrible time.
Sorry.
I have my first appointment with the mental health nurse soon and I'm terrified. Oh, don't be terrified. They're there to help. They're there to help.
Yeah. I'm using sport at the moment. I'm running every single day. And the natural endorphins, I mean, like today, I felt absolutely ghastly in the middle of the day. I just felt so depleted. And it wasn't like an emotion. I don't know if anyone else feels this. It wasn't like an emotion. It wasn't like something had happened. It wasn't like something had been said. It wasn't anything other than an enormous flatness, just doesn't even descend. It kind of just spreads from within. And before you know it, you just feel hopeless. I mean, absolutely hopeless. So before I went out on the run, I felt sort of shaky, tearful, ill at ease, partly because I was just thinking, what does one do on these weekends, these long weekends where there's, you know, everyone's sort of basically going, yeah, let's kick back and just do nothing. Let's just chill. Let's just be ourselves. Let's just have a drink. Let's just sit around. I find that really hard.
Well, you never do that.
Well, no, I know I never do that.
You just don't do it, do
but
you?
especially,
you just stay busy. I mean, you've worked all day.
But especially at these points, it's like there's a massive advert out in the street, out in the park. I mean, just now I just ran through the park and I just saw several groups of blokes playing football and I thought, that'd be quite nice. And then I saw they all had cans of drink. And you know, you've got the additional issue that you can't have a drink.
Which is the case.
And I think a lot of people use drink, not necessarily in a bad way, but I think you can use drink just to have a glass of wine as a way to just sort of antidote stuff, and I can't.
But I mean, you can't drink because you're a recovering alcoholic. But a lot of people on antidepressants can't drink either, can they? Because it really is not good, is it, to mix the two?
No, not at all.
So I'm sure a lot of people will identify with that. And also, let's face it, if you're depressed and you drink, you feel worse. I never drink if I'm down. I only drink if I'm happy. Because if I'm down on a drink, oh my God, I feel terrible.
I mean, we were writing the title for this, dealing with depression, alcoholism, anxiety when the sun's out. The problem for me is those three things all converge. For me, there's no division between any of them. You might say, well, you haven't had a drink for years, so how are you struggling in an alcoholic way? But it's alcohol. You can have alcoholic thinking. And alcoholic thinking is very close to depressive thinking. And if you think about it, hangovers are a micro form of depression every day. So, you know, I mean, this morning I woke up and I was so grateful. I thought, oh God, it's so hot. This has been one of those mornings that I've had one of those headaches. But then slowly, this anxiety built up and I ended up feeling like I had an emotional hangover. So I've got to this point now. If I hadn't gone for that run, literally just come in from a run just now.
But that's the work.
I didn't know what was going to happen.
That's the thing that I've noticed the most since you've come on the antidepressant. Because I think on some days you've been much happier than you were when you were on the antidepressants. But obviously your antidepressants were also anti-anxiety. And that has definitely built again. Definitely.
Yeah, look, Zoe, I get hangovers even when I don't drink. It's so draining. Yeah. I know, and the other danger with it, I don't know if you get this, guys.
The sun makes it feel worse. Everyone seems to.
Oh my God, the sun is like this mocking face that's just sitting up there, just grinning at you. Just, oh my God, every piece of kit is going down. Sorry, sorry. Fill for me.
Shall we? No, you can carry on talking if you're off camera. It was just.
What was I saying?
The worst. The sun is the worst.
Oh yeah, it's
after
like.
Tired Mummy.
Tired Mummy.
Worse because everyone seems happy.
Well, and this isn't a criticism of you, Naz. You know what tends to come with the sun.
I need the grey, Mr. Gates.
Yeah. What comes with the sun is an enormous number of incredibly loud people going, look, it's a beautiful sunny day. And all that for me is, I start to feel the tension. I just feel tension. It's stress, it's pressure. The assumption being that if the sun's out, we should all bloody just be happy. And no, it doesn't work like that.
So if there's anybody that's a partner of somebody with similar issues, you will know how hard that is for us as well.
No,
because of course I always try and just temper myself and not be as happy as I was, or not say, oh, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that, or why don't we go to the beach, or why don't we do, although I did say why don't we go to the beach, all that stuff. I just don't. I think it, and I start to say it, and then I say, well, don't say it because it will just make things worse for Mark, and that's all right because, I can be happy anyway.
Hello, Rennie.
But I know that you don't want any extra happiness.
It's not that I don't want extra happiness.
No, but you don't want me building on it.
No, but it feels like a false thing to say because the sun's out we should all now be happy. I mean, I know I was going on about it.
But hang on, from the position of somebody that doesn't get depressed from the sun, I'm not saying the sun's out, we should all be happy. I'm saying the sun's out, I'm really happy, this is lovely. It's just the difference. Because I understand how it is for you. You have to understand how it is for me too.
Oh, no, I do. I'm not sitting here saying I'm right. It's a pain,
but
in the ass.
you always say that I jump around saying everybody should be happy. Well,
No,
actually,
that's
just your perception.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's my perception of it. When people jump around saying, "Oh, it's a lovely day," it's for those for whom it's a struggle to kind of get to that place of inner sunshine. It's additional exterior pressure. Rennie was just asking, "Am I sick?" I have seen a CBT therapist, and we're discussing the fact that I'm coming down off my meds. This isn't to say that I'm going to stay off meds for good. I'm trying a period of time where I want to know what it feels like to be me, unimpeded, unfettered by any form of medicine in me. I want to know what it's like to feel high and low.
But it's like I always stress to Mark, if he feels he has to go back on it, he mustn't feel a sense of failure.
Which one
just this chap here who's just asked you a couple of times.
Sorry.
Just go back. Just thinking about that. It's like I said to Mark, he bless him, because I think it's amazing what he's doing, and it's not easy. And the thing is, if he feels he needs to go back on them, I don't want him to feel that that's a sense of failure.
No.
It's better to do that and to be stable and to be...
Ryan, you've just written a paragraph there which could describe me most of the time.
That's what I thought.
I get anxious if someone asks to hang out with, and if it's a group one-on-one, always work myself up before and I get such butterflies in my stomach. I do, to the point that that's why I used to drink. That's why I used to take drugs. That's why I used to...
And he says, I worry if I'm boring to be around.
I always worry. From a young age, and this isn't a criticism on my mum, when I used to ask my mum what my father was like, because I didn't know him, she said, oh, you don't need to know, he's really boring. And from the get-go, I used to worry, oh my God, it's in my DNA. No, not what if I am. I am. Because it's in my DNA. He will have passed it on to me. I'm born, I am his son, so I'm going to be boring. And the boring thing, so I will often inhabit a bit of a part. I think I'm a kind of a secret closet actor, because I can easily hide within the part of being, I can be very bubbly, I can be very all these things. But then on the crash can be enormous. But that nervousness that you're describing there, I absolutely get. And interestingly, as I ran past these groups of men, all of which look very enticing and attractive, I fancy kicking the ball about, I fancy chatting about the fact that Tottenham might finish above Arsenal this year, all this kind of stuff. And then as I ran past them, I just felt that real sense of difference and outside of it. And I thought, well, I can't step inside that world because of the drink, because of the inability to be at ease with myself. It's frustrating.
Tired by me, I avoid going out and hanging around with people, as I think, why would they want to hang out with me?
Yeah, I think that all the time. All the time. And it's the insomnia that comes along with
Small talk is the worst.
Oh my God, small talk. Oh my
Leo,
God.
You send so many nice messages on our movie channel. Thank you, Leo.
Small talk. I get overwhelmed with agony when a situation sort of filters down and I look around and I can see that no one in the group is going to be responsible for saying anything at any point. I start to think, oh my God, I just feel like, what it feels like is suddenly there's a sort of spotlight that's descending on me, and I'm going to have to fill the space. It's horrendous.
I feel that though,
Yeah,
but I'm just really good at hiding it. So, I mean, my whole job is about just chatting, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I can do small talk, and I can keep it going, and people would think, oh, I'm so comfortable with it.
But is it
but I'm not really.
Is it a nightmare for you, me not drinking over a bank holiday weekend?
No. It's a nightmare for you, and therefore it's a nightmare for me.
But how do you see the three things as interconnected? Do you see the three things as interconnected?
If I was getting roaring drunk and opening one bottle after another, it would be. But the most I have is a couple of drinks. And I think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a glass of wine together and I could just see you relax, because you don't relax. But I also know that's a really unhealthy way to relax.
Mm.
You know, it's just, not for anyone, whether you're an alcoholic or not, to use alcohol to relax. And let's face it, in this country, that's how most people do it. They don't do it in Italy. Do you know in Italy there is no such thing as saying, let's meet up and go for a drink?
Mm.
People would never say that. People go for a meal, people go around to each other's houses, but they don't say, let's meet up and go for a drink. And that is what we do here, isn't it? And it's the way that we break down all those barriers, it's the way that we relax. So I'm happy for you that you don't do that, and I couldn't do what you do. And I'm not an alcoholic. I could not go 15 days, well, I mean, I could, but I wouldn't want to go 15 days without a drink, let alone 15 years.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm always in order.
Well, this morning, this morning was a struggle, just not having
So
a
proud
coffee.
of you.
I mean, does everyone else find their own different sort of things? I mean, I didn't have a coffee this morning, and I was an absolute
It was a
mess.
bloody nightmare.
Absolute mess. Is CBD legal? CBD? What's CBD? CBT.
Oh, oh, do you mean the cannabis thing? It's a cannabis derivative that is legal in this country.
Is it
that
legal?
can help with things, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a legal one here, yeah.
So, I mean, I feel that anxiety, depression, and my alcoholism, it's like an
I
unholy.
was talking about CBT though, which is cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yeah.
So it probably just sounded like D, but it did actually say T.
I think the three of them are the unholy triad. I speak to my teacher about my OCD and she really helps me. How can I thank her? I feel awful about disruption. I need help. I think I need to go to therapy.
You definitely could reach out to a therapist. And you're only 15, aren't you? I think, is there somebody that you can trust to talk to?
It's
'Cause I
interesting.
think
That's
that would be a
interesting.
good idea, Casey.
Yeah. And also, the big thing that you do learn
Music
is,
helps Lucy.
what's that wonderful quote by, was it Kennedy? But Kennedy used it from someone else. There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is predicated on fear. I think most addictions are based on fear. We get addicted because we're fearful of the situation.
Yeah, we want to shut
Anxiety
ourselves
is a form of
up.
fear.
It's interesting there that Lucy says that music helps her, playing the piano helps
God.
me relax and distract. But you
I find music deeply
and
disturbing.
another friend of mine who is a recovering alcoholic and a recovering addict, cocaine addict, she says that music gives her euphoric recall. It takes her back to that place where everything was brilliant
Yeah.
and she was just...
I want to go
and
raving.
so she can't do it.
It has two effects on me. It either makes me want to go out and party even more, so it's very dangerous, and so I do have euphoric recall.
Yeah.
Or I find that it sort of almost, it triggers too much sadness. Do you remember, I mean, there was a time when Kiki was younger, she used to say, please don't put music on in the car. But sometimes
Well,
I
she
could put
would have it
music
on.
on and it can absolutely poleaxe me.
It would always make her feel sad.
Mm.
Um,
Busy is it?
It's
Busy is it,
Triona
Miss
at
Steve?
Ed
You're right,
Sheeran
busy.
concert
Busy.
yesterday in Cork. Fab, but the amount of drunk teens frightened me. I know. Well, this is what we worry about with our... Because Mark has 4 daughters, 2 with me, and you think, God, surely, you know, one of them is going to be at risk at
Yeah.
least, don't we? We worry about that all the time. Maddie's brilliant though. She comes in from every party, stone cold sober. So
But my line to all my girls is, please don't ruin drinking for
Oh,
yourselves at
cinema
such an
helps
early
a
age.
lot.
At such an early age, because actually, you know, try and drink healthily. You know, try and
moderate.
don't ruin it for yourselves. That's what I'm saying. I totally agree, Zoe. The cinema is a great tonic. Well, and you know, let's not forget AA meetings. One thing I said I was gonna, I felt coming into this weekend, I knew I had to do was get to an AA meeting. I'm not a mad AAer. I'm not an advocate of, you know, 12-stepping and all that, but there are huge benefits to the philosophy of what goes on in AA. So
That's a good point from Lucy. Is it a particular type of music or any music? I like to play classical a lot. Now
well,
you see,
classical is
don't play the rave.
yeah, no, absolutely. But classical, you're right, Lucy. Classical is a really, sometimes I put on Radio 3 and I find myself almost in a transcendental state,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. Pain medications to numb myself. I ended up having to come and tell us.
After your mother
Dear,
died.
so
Oh, you
sorry.
poor thing.
Oh,
Philip Wallace, darling, I want to sing but can't deal with listening to music I love because of the
Well-
heartache. So nice hearing I'm not alone. Oh, Philippa.
did Mark find it particularly difficult to not drink when the sun is out? Also, yes. And yet every season offers its own challenges. Christmas is a really inviting, you know, those cosy windows of pubs and in central London, you kind of go past them. But the summer, I do find the summer again. There's something. Okay, I'm going to sound really miserable. There's something sort of a bit bullying about the way people stand around barbecues having such a loud, great time, and it's just like,
Darling,
oh my,
that's
stop
just your
going on about it.
perception of it. Here come
Stop
our
going
girls
on
now
about it.
from the garden. You
Come
can
on
come
through.
in. Leave the door open, darling. That's the dogs.
That's the dogs.
Kiki's got friends around. Go around this way, darling. Go around this way. You all right? Yeah. We're just doing a live. Say hello.
Hello. Yeah.
This has been full. Last night we had 6 girls in the house, didn't we? With sleepovers.
Oh, Ryan, hello. It's movies going to the cinema in the that moment give me a rush of confidence for like, yeah, I get that, Ryan, as well. I find the escapism of films. I feel you can almost adopt. I mean, I find, if I'm honest, I do spend a lot of my time inhabiting, not a character, but inhabiting a mood. So I don't know if other people get this, where you can decide, I'm just going to be really the life and soul. So there'll be times, for instance, when Nadia's family are coming around or something, and I'm thinking I don't feel up to it, and I might go for a run or something, and then I will just literally say to myself,
You act it, don't you?
I'll get a whirling dervish, and that's not making it false, but that gets me to the place where I can see her father's
They used
roaring
to
with
say that in
laughter,
the
your
forest.
mum's having a laugh, and it's a lovely thing to do. And the term they use in rehab is be of service.
No, the other one, fake it to make it.
Well, fake it to make it, but there's another way of looking at it, is that you're being of service to the people. So,
Yeah,
Nadia,
that's a really
Nadia
good
wants to
thing.
see her family. I might not want to see her family because I'm a miserable bastard that day, and I'm full of depression, full of anxiety, and I hate to say it, everyone who has depression, anxiety, and alcoholism is a little bit self-centered. Just park yourself outside of yourself and think, what is a nice gift to give someone today? Actually, being amenable, being agreeable, being a host. When people come in, I'm the first one to ask them all, what do they want to drink? I want to give everyone a drink, and they all get healthy lashings of alcohol because I can't have them.
I don't have gin and tonic,
Yeah, I'll do a gin and tonic.
joking.
Christmas and summer make me cry now, but it's also a time of year I love. But everyone being happy gets me as I am.
Yeah, I suppose it just highlights it, doesn't it? If you're feeling really down and people just, I mean, it's just human nature that's going to make you.
Anne-Marie,
Feel
look, I
worse.
suffered with anxiety in my last 2 pregnancies. CBT worked, but it took me 2 years to be able to listen to music again.
Isn't it weird? I think it's because music touches you so deeply, doesn't it? It's no
Interestingly,
mean thing. I mean, since I've had my girls, I mean, before I got married and had children, I used to put on music all the time.
I used to listen to music.
I never put
mind you,
music
I was
on
drinking
now.
like that as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Julie, I found my depression. If I'm crafting or knitting or crochet has helped me through my anxiety. Do you know what, Kiki? As I think a lot of you know that follow us. We took both our girls out of school, and Kiki, who's very well now, but had anxiety for a couple of years from a really young age because she hated school so much. And do you know what got her over a huge bump with anxiety? You know this phase that all the kids have for making foam, flume, flom.
No, what was it?
What's it
Slime.
called? Slime.
Yeah.
She would make it for hours and hours. And I've seen there's quite a lot of adults that now use slime
Yeah.
as well for anxiety, just keeping yourself busy, isn't it? Your hands busy. I can really identify with that. It's like me, I do it with cooking. Like sometimes if I've had a really stressful day or I am feeling really insecure or just a shit day, I will cook because I'm busy with everything.
It's interesting. Darren, this may seem a strange question. What's the best way to deal with an alcoholic father? He's abusive, etc. Sorry, I've said a lot. Well, don't be sorry, Darren. I mean, I had an alcoholic mother when I was young. So
How old are you, Darren? There's 2 things you can do. One, there is Al-Ateen, which is for teenagers that might have alcoholic in their family, or Al-Anon if
the
you're
good thing,
older.
can I just quickly interject?
Yeah,
the
sorry.
good thing about doing either of those things is it involves you doing nothing towards your father.
Just looking after yourself.
And potentially, upsetting him or causing anger if he's being abusive. I mean, that's always the danger. Is people often say, "Well, you just have to sort of be interceptive and say something." It's not that easy, is it?
Because
I mean,
Mark's mum is now.
I could
quite
never have said
abusive.
anything to my mum when I was a child, but if I'd have known there was somewhere I could have gone to, shared about stuff, or even not even said anything, just listened. So Darren, it's really good advice what Nadia says. Alateen, children of alcoholic parents is another group.
Oh,
which
what's the
is-
punch bag? So are you an adult? There's another one called Adult Children of Alcoholics. So that means, well, I suppose the reason they call it that is because the child is still is there all the time. The child that suffered at the hands of an alcoholic is still there even as an adult.
Mm.
So adult children of alcoholics, look that up. There's lots of organisations for people who have, because
The first
it goes
organisation
on.
I've
There's
ever
an
went to was
excellent
that.
one that I follow on Twitter. What's he called? You follow him as well. I'll try and look for him. He's written some really good articles. But there is a lot of support out there for adult children of alcoholics.
I also run a small part of business which has helped us a lot. I mean, I find things like editing. I do a lot of editing for all of the social media, but in my job I do a lot of editing, and so I find that incredibly cathartic, don't I? I mean, you'll often find. I mean, I write a lot as well, obviously, and so that helps.
It
How do
breaks
you deal with
my
an alcoholic?
heart.
Which one?
Look, how do you deal with an alcoholic uncle who's really bad health issues and keeps passing out but won't go to the doctors? I'm 19 and stress on the family is massive. Go to Al-Anon, families of alcoholics. So you get to do, because what happens with an alcoholic who's not taking any care of themselves and is drinking,
Yeah, really good point.
they take up all the energy of the family, and you need to look after yourselves. When Mark went into the Priory, and so the alcoholics would go off in one room, and the families, they took so much care of us, because they said, you have all been under enormous strain and stress looking after the alcoholic.
Yeah.
So you need to look after yourself. Look up Al-Anon. Now, if you go to a meet, it's like AA, but it's for the people that aren't alcoholics, for the families. If you hear them talking about God in the meeting, it's just because it's old-fashioned. Most people aren't religious.
It's not religious. It's almost a hangover from a bygone era, which
Yeah.
that was what was written. It's a bit like when you do the Lord's Prayer at school. You wouldn't say the school was an extremely religious school. They just happened to do the Lord's Prayer.
And really, Helen my dad was an alcoholic, but never physically abusive, just verbal. Not just.
Verbal.
Just verbal is horrendous.
Sometimes verbal can hurt more than physical.
Yeah, so that is no less than you've really been through something, you know, to grow up as a child of an alcoholic. It's all about the alcoholic.
And you are not, someone just went, said, Rennie, you just said to Darren, it's not your dad's sobriety is not your responsibility.
It is not.
And equally, you can't solve it. You can't resolve
You can't cure it.
So don't, it's really hard because most people around alcoholics will want to rescue them in some way. And you'll have spent it happened with Nadia and me, it happened with me and my mum all through my childhood. You think you can keep rescuing the person you love from the situation they're in.
And they give you the 3 C's, don't they? You didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it.
Yeah.
Remember those things. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. You are utterly powerless.
Yeah.
You cannot save the alcoholic. You can say to the alcoholic, I'm not going to do anything more for you, and then hopefully they get help. But you've got to look after your own mental health.
And in fact, the best thing you can do with anyone in your family who is an active alcoholic is not with anger and not with violence and not with any form of sort of crossness in your heart. You have to, if you can, just draw a boundary of you won't engage with them when they're in that state. It's what happened to me. Only at the point did I know that Nadia had said no more. My mother had said no. I mean, ironically, it flipped around with me and my mum because she now doesn't drink, and when I was a kid, she was the same. There's only when people in your family closest to you have said, you know what, no more. And obviously that's why they call it rock bottom, because usually people have to have lost their jobs, lost their marriages, lost their children, lost their relationships, lost their health, nearly lost their lives. That's why they call it rock bottom. And I am a believer, unfortunately, that unless you've truly got close to your rock bottom, you may well make an effort to stop, but you won't stay stopped. You almost, and so what am I suggesting? You as family members can almost instigate the rock bottom by pulling away from them and not trying to help.
You anymore.
I mean, it sounds awful, but this is what happened to me. It's the only way I could get real, get mucky. Came round in a mental institute where they said, right, okay, so your way of
that's what the Priory is.
They sit on the end of your bed and they wake you up and they say, you do realise you're in a mental institute, and you go, right, and they go, so your thinking and your control of your mind led you here.
It didn't work. You couldn't control it.
No.
And it's the same with the families of. It makes me really sad when emotional abuse can be more painful than physical abuse. It can. But Mark, doesn't this make you feel better when you think, struggling this weekend with not drinking, and you hear these people,
oh my God,
and that are suffering at the hands of their dad or their uncle, and you
well,
do
thank
this.
God I've stopped that for my children.
You do this every day, one day at a time, and your daughters are so proud. And I'm so
Well, I mean,
It's really hard. It's really hard.
I mean,
In a society where everything is about drinking. Sometimes it really feels like that. Everything's about.
I mean, when
I mean, do you remember in the early days when people say to me, "Well, we're having this drink. Should we not ask Mark because he doesn't drink?" You
Yeah.
go, "No,
Yeah.
ask Mark.
Yeah.
You were the one with the problem. If you can't have someone there not drinking."
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't one of those active alcoholics that, I will have been having an impact on my children's lives. I certainly wasn't abusive or any of those things.
No,
But,
never.
they're,
No, but
they're,
just by you being drunk
no,
would have
exactly.
frightened them.
But for the grace of God go I, that I hadn't got there. And I don't go past anyone in the street or when I'm in an AA meeting or whatever. And I don't think, the what ifs are massive. The what ifs surround you everywhere. But I mean, the best advice I can give to anyone suffering with it, and a member of their family is, it sounds counterintuitive, but step away, step back,
Yeah.
don't help.
And Lucy Lou, that's what I feel like around food. Seems it's all people
Yeah.
speak about some days. You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Lucy, I understand on that one.
Food is such a difficult.
Food is such a pain because you use food, don't you? Because you can't drink. I use
do.
food because
I'd say food was my first issue when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to ladle spoonfuls of margarine into my mouth when I was left home alone for most of my childhood.
Comfort.
For
Then
comfort.
once you've learnt that comfort as a child, it's really hard.
What did I do last night? I ladled piles of butter onto slices of white bread and just homped 6 slices.
I know, we were sat watching
just-
something, he
it was-
went, I've got to have toast, and
it
he
was
was just
just
gone.
compulsive.
He just
It was
stood
like-
don't mention it now because I'm going to want toast.
Oh my
Let's just
God.
not talk about toast.
So,
Hi
yeah.
Daniel, welcome.
I mean, I am thinking that maybe we should, once I've been off the drugs, but I mean, by and large, I'm feeling better for coming off the meds. That's the biggest headline, by and large. But as I say, when you feel those downs, you feel them so much more keenly than you were before. So it's almost like, on a car, you've got the suspension pads. You go over a bump. At the moment, when I go over a bump, it's just like, I get whiplash, I get all of this. But then as I go up again, it's like, yeah. And it's real, So, I
Oh
don't know if
guys,
that's been of
it's
any
so
use.
good talking to you.
So
Well, it's
wonderful.
been
Yeah,
good
and
for
we're going to
us.
carry on.
I feel better.
Going to
from-
carry on reading through your
Oh, sorry, Sophie.
Yeah,
It sounds like you
tri-
have so
tri-
many challenges to face.
lovely name, Triona. I don't know if that's
Triona
correct.
Linen.
Linen.
Meds only work
Meds
for a
only work for a
while.
while. Well done, coming off. Well, I do think they only work for a while.
Just one day at a time.
One
You
day
might
at a
have to go
time.
back. We don't know. Oh, there's Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Right, you're speaking about it. Oh yeah. Not to go for the bottle if I'm feeling down and trying to get things out like I use it. I mean, I use work an awful lot. So that's why they have terms like workaholic. I run every day. I'm editing something every day. I'm writing something every day. I'm working on something every day. It's kind of, we are all distracting. We are all addicts. We are all addicts.
In different ways.
In different ways.
Thanks,
But anyway.
guys. Thank you so much.
But anyway,
for
can I just
joining
say
us.
that I've had lots of messages over the many months since we did the first How Are You Feelings, and I said to Nadia, I said we should just do this,
Yeah, we'll do them
as a little
episode.
update, just to kind of say. But we love you all very much. So thank you for all your comments.
Take care.
Thank you.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe,
I'm going to go and have a bottle of gin.
and the bell so that you know that we're going live.
Gallows sense of humour helps because it almost takes you close to the possibility. That's why I do it. That's why I stand in the back of shots swigging pretend bottles of vodka, because it's like you would never do it, but you can almost sort of test drive it.
Thank you, everyone. Just take it one day at a time, and sometimes just a minute at a time. Right now, here, in this moment, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's a really good sentence to go.
Quick-
Right now, I'm okay.
Quick question, Nadia, who supports you as the supporter, or is it a two-way street between the two of you?
It's a two-way street
Question.
between the two of us. But
But I
obviously, if
think-
he's in
Funk.
a funk, then it's just like you just.
I mean, I'm very
accept it.
appreciative. I mean, I recognise how much Nadia
We are doing a
does.
podcast, Daisy.
Yeah.
We're shooting one tomorrow, actually. So.
I mean, I recognise, I'm incredibly lucky that Nadia is as understanding and as tolerant as she's been.
And just generally all round wonderful.
Yeah, she's generally a tip-top bird. I mean, having someone who can understand, but I tell you what, it didn't, I'm sure Nadia would agree, only going through all of this with me, she wasn't in this frame of mind about all of this before we went through it, were we? You said only today. It's very odd listening to the comment that I'm a recovering alcoholic. It's
Lots of love, everybody.
All right, guys.
Take
Lots
care.
of love. Bye. Bye.
Bye.